What's going on, everyone? Today I'm going to show you an easy and cost-free way of providing your chickens with calcium. It's a method that homesteaders and chicken owners have used for years. Everyone has their own way of doing it for their own reasons, but today I'm going to show you how and why I do it for the intended purpose that I'm using it for. So basically, I'm going to be reusing the shells from my laying hens and processing them in a way that they'll be able to consume them as a calcium-rich supplement. There are plenty of ways and uses for processing the eggshells, such as using them in your garden for fertilization, using them as an insect deterrent, or you can grind them to a fine powder and make your own chicken feed or pellets, mixing them with additional ingredients. Any use you have for them will definitely beat the alternative of just throwing them away or tossing them in your compost pile. A lot of experienced chicken owners will tell you that giving them eggshells as a supplement is not a good idea because chickens will associate their own eggs as a meal and start eating them, which can become a bad habit to break. However, I grind my eggshells down enough to a point where they don't recognize them as eggs. So in the event you do have an egg eater, I'll explain momentarily how you can break that habit in your hens. One of my light Brahmas had an egg eating issue in the past prior to me even introducing eggshell supplements, and I was able to reverse that behavior fairly quickly, so don't be too worried if you experience this at some point. So the first thing I do is take all the shells that I saved and spread them out into a baking pan and preheat the oven to 200 degrees Fahrenheit roughly, depending on your oven. Once the oven reaches temperature, I'll place them in there for around 20 minutes, and you'll know they're done if the eggs you put in there had membrane material on them and they turn to a light brown crisp. I personally don't rinse the eggs when I'm prepping them for this intended purpose because the membrane will provide some additional nutrients even though a fair amount of it is being cooked down. Don't be too concerned about bacteria since the shells are being cooked. Some people prefer to boil their shells, but I find this method to be very effective. Once the eggshells are finished cooking, I'll set them on the counter to cool for a moment, and then I'll proceed with putting them in a blender or food processor to grind them down at the desired consistency that I'm looking for. In this case, I'm going to be grinding them down to a fine powder so I can mix it in with other ingredients to make calcium treats. You could also just crush them by hand or run them through the food processor briefly before they get to a powdery consistency, and just mix the small shell pieces in with their feed. Chickens don't have the ability to chew their food, so they'll eat small rocks, sand, and other particles to assist with the digestion process. For those who aren't aware, chickens have gizzards, which is an organ that grinds down anything that the chicken has consumed. Eating small pebbles and sand help pulverize the seeds, grain, and feed within the gizzard to allow smooth passage to the small intestines. And this is why we feed our chickens poultry grit or other substitutes, but we'll get into that in another video. Now, although providing your flock with eggshells is a good calcium supplement, you should still provide them with another source, such as crushed oyster shell. You just won't have to do this as often if you're frequently using this method. In any case, when it comes to dietary needs, variety is always key. So if you happen to run into an issue with one of your hens starting to eat their eggs, you can order some fake ceramic eggs like I did, which have proven to be effective for me. Just place them in your nesting boxes and be sure to take any freshly laid eggs from the coop as they come along. That way they aren't given the opportunity to continuously eat them. The ceramic eggs that remain in the nesting boxes will potentially be picked on at some point, and it will not be comfortable for the chickens to be pecking at the ceramic and will have an unsuccessful attempt at cracking open the eggs. They will eventually associate that outcome with future attempts to cracking open their own eggs and form a new paradigm in their habits. Now, obviously, the bigger that your flock is, this could be a more difficult issue to control, so just do your best to monitor their nesting boxes and retrieve the eggs on a daily basis. And if things really get out of hand, the alternative may result in separating your problem chicken from the flock temporarily until that issue is resolved. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please be sure to drop a like for the YouTube algorithm as it really helps out this channel, and drop a comment below if you have any questions. Alright guys, take care and thanks for watching.